position was inconsistent. It was confusing and perhaps even misguided. In truth, the administration's approach to the coup in Honduras fell within a larger framework of U.S. policy in the region. Again, to be a partner whenever possible and a leader whenever necessary. Indeed, one element of the administration's emphasis on collective action and partnership is a recognition of and an agreement with past criticisms that our approach to the region tended to be unilateral, paternalistic, and that this was counterproductive. Thus, President Obama practiced what he preached and worked in a multilateral fashion to make clear that the coup in Honduras was unacceptable. We worked closely with the Organization of American States, Honduran leadership, President Arias of Costa Rica, and other actors willing to make a positive contribution to a practical solution. Now, when it became clear, however, that certain elements in the region either benefited from the political gridlock that subsequently took hold in Honduras, or simply had no real plan of action to break the impasse we all found ourselves confronting, senior-level U.S. involvement was crucial to the negotiations that ultimately led to the agreement that ensured Honduras' transition back to democratic governance. Frankly, I think the criticism has been at times disingenuous. As President Obama stated in August of 2009 at a press conference that he was with the Prime Minister of Canada, Harper, and President Calderon in a joint conference, he said, and I quote, "The same critics who say that the United States has not intervened enough in Honduras are the same people who say that we're always intervening, and the Yankees need to get out of Latin America." Well, frankly, you can't have it both ways. Moreover, our approach has been consistent with larger U.S. foreign policy objectives, proved crucial to putting Honduras back on the path to democracy, and demonstrated that the coups of the past no longer have a place in our hemisphere. I'd also like to highlight some that does not receive nearly enough attention. The Honduras experience created an important and positive precedent for how to confront similar challenges in the future. Indeed, the response to the Honduran coup marks the first time that the notion of collective defense of democracy in the Americas ceased to be just simply rhetoric. The coup prompted the first formal invocation of the Inter-American Democratic Charter to suspend a country's participation in the Inter-American system. In other words, collective defense of democracy in the wake of the Honduran coup became actionable, practical, and not something simply to strive to one day realize. Of course, its application was imperfect, but the implications of a collective defense being triggered to support democracy could be lasting in those countries where democratic governance is threatened. At a minimum, I think it highlights the need to strengthen collective mechanism and with the calls that do not come from the United States alone. Myth 4 is that the U.S.-Colombia Defense Cooperation Agreement signed in 2009 could be used to threaten other countries in the region because it will allow for the creation of U.S. bases and therefore permit an increased use of military presence in South America. This one gnaws at me quite a bit because I spent a lot of time on it. I want to be clear and reiterate what I have said since before the signing of the agreement. This agreement does not fundamentally change our defense relationship with Colombia. There will be no U.S. bases in Colombia and no increased U.S. presence in Colombia as a result of this agreement. In fact, the limits on the overall numbers of U.S. military personnel and U.S. civilian contractors are established by Congress through legislation. Any increase would require congressional action. With that said, Colombia is an important ally of the United States. We have a strong interest and commitment in Colombia's continued success, and the DCA, the Defense Cooperation Agreement, will ensure continued and effective cooperation in addressing security challenges. We signed this agreement for two reasons, and I want to be clear here again as I try to dispel this myth. First, it will help our collaboration by improving, streamlining, regularizing numerous past defense cooperation agreements we have had with Colombia over the years. The type of cooperation that these agreements facilitate is crucial because, and I frequently highlight this, the threats we face in the region are transnational. The threat to the Colombian state from the narco-terrorists is a threat to the United States and to Colombia's neighbors. It is for this reason that we also pursued and recently signed the Defense Cooperation Agreement with Brazil. Second reason, the Obama administration has repeatedly emphasized that transparency is a key element to building trust and confidence on defense issues, a necessary precondition for a more peaceful and secure world. We believe defense cooperation agreements provide that type of transparency. Finally, in our agreements with Colombia and with Brazil, the signatories affirm their commitment, and this is in the agreement, to respect the principles of sovereignty as enshrined in the UN Charter and the OAS Charter. In other words, this agreement does not pose a threat to any country, regardless of what political leaders might say. In fact, it will actually increase security in the region by furthering shared understandings and responses to those security challenges. Indeed, the benefits of close military cooperation became clear during the coordinated response to the earthquake in Haiti when the U.S., Colombia, and Brazil, in conjunction with many others, worked side by side to deliver life-saving relief to the Haitian people. Okay, myth number 5, one that keeps coming up as well. That somehow the U.S. is contributing or that it is indifferent to what some have characterized as a growing arms race in the region. The U.S. is neither contributing to, nor is it indifferent to any such thing. In fact, I do not believe that there is an arms race brewing because the region has made strides in increasing transparency and creating mechanisms of defense and security cooperation through the development of regional institutions such as UNASUR, the Union of South American Nations, and the Central American Integration System, to just name a few. These institutions can facilitate regional and thus reduce potential tensions, which is why the United States supports UNASUR and institutions like it. Now, Venezuela's disproportionate and unnecessary purchase of arms has, however, rightly caused some concern in the region. Other countries, such as Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, have also increased their defense expenditures. This is true. But they have done so because they either face real needs for modernizing obsolete systems, as in the case of Brazil and Chile, or internal security challenges from terrorism and narco-trafficking, such as with Colombia and Mexico. Moreover, and here is a piece of data that people seem to forget, as a percentage of GDP, none of these countries' defense budgets are close to exorbitant. In fact, the region as a whole spends around 2% of GDP on defense matters, which places it, along with Africa, toward the bottom, globally speaking. Latin America, the Western Hemisphere, remains a zone of peace. In the case of Brazil, for example, modernization is the principal motive for its rising defense costs. Brazil has been a regional leader in pushing for transparency in bodies such as UNASUR and has been forthcoming about its intentions and implications in the 2008 National Defense Strategy, which was published, as I said, in